Blackburn Galleries and Art Talk. And today we're here with another feature artist, and actually she's the Artist of the Month this October, and it's Rose Shaw, and we're in her studio, in her home. And Rose, why don't you tell us a little bit about your work and what inspires you and how you work?
Okay, well thanks Angela, and I'm really
My
happy
pleasure.
to be here. I wanted to share with you a couple of ideas that I have been working on lately, and also some of my past ideas and how I got to this point. I started as a color field painter, and I like to use great big canvases for my sweeping works of color. And I moved from that into mixed media work because I wasn't quite satisfied with limiting myself to just acrylic paint. I wanted to be able to add more to it, more depth, more layers, more message. So I actually got interested in working with these slides. I was given a set of slides from the turn of the century, and each slide has such an interesting narrative to it. To me, they become a story of their own. So the slide comes first. I usually reproduce that digitally, either on the computer or with a scanner, and then it'll show up in a piece. So the start for this was this piece here. And these slides, sometimes they have information on them, sometimes not. This one is a Turkish man. His name is Abdul Hamid. We think it's at least 100 years old, possibly older than that. And I also use antique books a lot. This book is Thornton Wilder, The Ides of March. It has a lot to do with Caesar. And I use text out of the book too, so there's scraps of that in here. This piece talks about Caesar coming to your dinner. Do not speak of it until you receive my formal acceptance. So it's kind of interesting, and I named it Dinner with Caesar because the important man, of course, is built into the figures, and there's images of hidden ladies in there too.
And is this done on paper?
Yes, this is
Okay.
collage on paper,
Okay.
and also a lot of paint and layering of other materials. Sometimes I use different kinds of papers in my work. I use bits of ephemera or antique photographs or scrap music sheets, or I have files and loads of this, lovely papers, bits of magazines that I find. I might photocopy them and reproduce them again, and then cut them up. And after I worked with the slides for a while, I got interested in using sales tags. When I went to using the sales tags, the question that kept coming up was all of these subliminal messages in the tags. The first one that I did was named Shopaholic, and that one is going to the London show. It looks like this. The image is something like this. And it was selected to be put into a book. The book is fundamentally female, and the message was women are meant to be loved, not to be understood. So the theme, or the idea of working with these tags, really became kind of intriguing because there is a lot of messages in here. They're pushing you to be sexier and thinner and appear like you have more money than anyone else. And status is a big deal right now. Whether you have the Gucci suit or a Coach bag means so much to some people that they end up overspending and going into debt just to try to look rich. So there are questions in here that the tags ask. You may find questions about being creative, or being extra sporty, or being extra peaceful. There's even one that has to do with karma now. So everything that is trending is really in those tags. And the question is whether clothing makes the man, whether clothing makes you, or if what you buy really is a reflection of who you are. After I do a panel like this is on a wood panel. This second one that I did had Twiggy, and I named her Mod Love because this is what what is modern love? Modern love is what we love to buy, what we love to have right now. Our phones, our technology, all of that. We love it so much we can't even put it down for a minute. And Twiggy did sell, but this is the same size, so hopefully I'll be making a new figure on that. I haven't decided who to put yet.
Exciting.
It might be somebody from, I don't know, the fashion world. It might be a celebrity. It might be a philanthropist, someone that helps the arts. I'm not sure yet who I'm going to put on there. The slides and the sales tags are very intriguing to me because they sort of click other ideas. They trigger other ideas in my mind. There's a few here that I did save as pieces. This one is one of refugees on the steps of David's Tower. That's from Jerusalem. And I reproduced that one and gave it to a dear friend of mine who's a Jewish friend for her birthday. The lettering is done in an ancient text and it spells her name. There's some of children. This one, I don't know if you can see it that way, but I was invited to do 4 pieces for a show called Mark My Words. It was at the Cultural Council, and that one I named Home, because now, even though it's 100 years later, we still have people that are displaced from their homes and their countries. We have refugees that are struggling to find places to live and have some kind of a livelihood. So globally, we still have the same problems and issues that we had 100 years ago.
Yes,
And I
that's very
think
true.
that as people and as artists, you have to kind of realize that we need to break past that eventually. We are not separate, we really are all one, and hopefully we'll figure out a way to share better and to make a better world. I was interested too in antique books, and I have a nice collection of antique books. And I'm very interested in artists' lives. This book here had to do with Picasso's life, and I got reading about him. It's an older book from the 60s. And I found that, you know, he had many women in his life, but one woman's story in particular stood out, and it was Francoise Gillot. And when he encountered her, she was very young. This is this piece here. And the torn pages in the background, the ground for the work are from Picasso's book. But the story is really her image. And the image tells it all, I think. She wanted to be an artist herself. And when she left him in the early 50s, she had had 2 children with him. And he said that nothing would come of her life. But she went on and married Jonas Salk and became a fine artist herself. She still is painting now, I believe, even though she's in her 90s. And she had a very successful life. So I wanted to share that because I felt like sometimes the women behind the artists are also very important.
Right,
And,
that's so true.
And it's important to take a look at that. Again, these 2 newer pieces, these are from slides. The photographs in these images are children, actually, that are spelling words, sometimes phrases of the Bible. They were from missionaries that would go to these countries and build orphanages and try to help out, and I script on top of those. So I have a couple of things going on. I guess I have a modern theme
Right.
of what's happening now, and yet I have a reflective theme of what is going on in the past and what issues we still are facing now.
That's right.
I
Absolutely.
feel like they say that the eyes are the window of the soul, and in a way, artists are the eyes of humanity because they look at really what we think about, what our souls care about, and they reflect that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Rose. We greatly appreciate you sharing a little bit about your art, and we know that we'll see many more.
Well, I certainly hope so,
paintings.
Angela, and I
Yeah.
really enjoyed you coming too.
Thank you so much.